Could it be that Blake Lively bestie Taylor Swift be playing a much larger role in the It Ends With Us drama as we were previously led to believe? Well, Candace Owens seems to think so. And after reading this Reddit post that went absolutely viral earlier today on Twitter, I have to say, I don't think she's that far off. Hello, 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 and welcome back, roommates, to Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, we are not law enforcement, and we are not journalists. We are just people. People who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community. Sometimes that includes celebrity lawsuits, right? Including this hot take from Candace Owens about Taylor Swift's possible involvement or further involvement in the It Ends With Us drama. Now, I have to say, I don't really have any opinions or feelings about Candace Owens. I know a lot of people do. I don't really care in terms of what content she creates or what her political views are. That is not why I wanted to bring this up, because her team did some deep diving into connecting some of these dots that really seem to match up with some of what's being alleged in this Reddit post, which we are going to go over in 1 second. Again, could Taylor Swift be playing a much larger role into the casting process of It Ends With Us? The calling the shots on what kind of composers are getting hired and fired? Yeah, so that level of involvement, much more than the passive text exchange between Justin Baldoni in response to Blake Lively about the rewrite of the rooftop scene. So I want to go into this. This was posted by a user that goes by MotorCow9806 in the Colleen Hoover subreddit group 6 months ago. So apparently, this person is alleging to have known someone who worked on the film for most of its run. So I don't know in what capacity. Again, this is all anonymous. So, okay, I know a lot of this inside drama for It Ends With Us, and I just don't know who to share it with. So here we are. I'm obviously using a throwaway, but I know someone who worked on the movie for most of its run who would have gotten these details piping hot. Not some grapevine situation. They told me firsthand what they know. So I'm curious, this person had to have had, if this is true, some sort of close connection to potentially Blake. I don't know. Or Justin. Maybe they were a PA. Maybe they were an assistant director. Maybe they were, I don't know, maybe even Blake's hairstyle. I don't know. I don't know what kind of capacity, but if they were somebody who would have had this level of access to that information, they had to have been somewhat close to, I assume, the parties involved. So supposedly Blake felt that Justin made her feel uncomfortable on set. One instance in particular, they said, was that Justin told Blake she looked sexy in what she was wearing on set. I don't know the context around it. And again, context is everything. I don't know the extent of their relationship. Were they, jokey and jovial? Does that seem like something that he would have felt comfortable joking around with her? It seemed like there might have been a little bit of back and forth, kind of loose flirting in a friendly way based on what I have read and heard that's being reported. But again, without the context, it's really kind of hard to say whether or not it was inappropriate. Apparently, Justin wasn't happy with the original editor's cut of the movie, which again, we've also heard. So he hired his own team to do his version of the movie. Blake wanted to do her own version of the movie as a result, but Sony said no, because Blake, you're not the director. I mean, was she even a producer on the film as well, too? As far as I know, she was just the leading lady in all of this. So yeah, why would you have that level of power and control, right? Unless you're going to invest some of your own money into the project, like I believe Justin has as well. So Blake goes to Sony and threatens to go to the New York Times with a story that says Justin was SHing her on set if they don't let her have her own version. SONY freaks out and says, okay, whatever you want. Justin is banned from SONY, from the SONY lot. I don't think forever, just for the run of the movie, but I could be wrong. Justin is banned. Blake hires Taylor Swift, so this is where Taylor Swift comes into play. Blake hires Taylor Swift's music video editors to do her version while she's filming in Italy for something. So I've heard it's been speculated that she was working on the Anna Kendrick movie, A Simple Favor 2, I believe it's called. But I also find it interesting that she would have opted for a music video editor versus another film editor. Like, those are two polar opposites. It's like hiring a car mechanic to fix your plumbing. It doesn't make any sense to me, but Blake has a friends and family screening to get thoughts. So this is after her version, this cut of her version. She puts together a screening with a lot of A-listers, including Ben Affleck, who also used to work for Marvel, too. He was Daredevil at a time. Bradley Cooper, I think, etc., etc. Likely anyone who was friends with Ryan Reynolds. I can't imagine they were there to support her. Probably because Ryan's like, guys, you gotta come and help me support my wife. Everyone is like, the movie makes no effing sense. So it was terrible. That's what happens when you get a music video editor to edit a feature film. It doesn't make sense. Blake realizes she needs to hire an experienced film editor to fix it. Blake uses a Taylor Swift song in the movie that the studio loves having in there. Of course they would love having a Taylor Swift song in there because it means more money for them. It means more people. It means Taylor Swift going on the red carpet, getting chalked up with tons of award nominations, going to premieres, doing press, etc. It looks great for the film. Of course they love that idea. Taylor Swift finds that the original composer for that film is someone she worked with in the past that was mean to her. And she says, it's either me or him. And of course, SONY fires that composer to keep the T Swift song. I think that's everything I know. So then they later go on to reply. So somebody said, I cannot buy the Justin slander. I won't. This all sounds like Blake and Ryan damage control. So they follow up and say, here's the thing from my perspective. The general vibe I got when I heard it was that some people involved in this feel like Blake was blowing things out of proportion and that there was more context, which could be supported by her trying to use it to threaten SONY with it to get what she wants, which seems pretty in line with what we've seen so far come out. I mean, we haven't seen any evidence coming out to support her claims, right? Unless it's coming, unless we're all waiting for a big drop. I have no idea. I think it just looks bad, just as bad on Blake, to be honest. So now I want to cut over to this Candace Owens clip about Taylor's involvement in some of the casting choices in the film.
The young Lily Bloom character, so essentially the young Blake Lively in the film, the young Lily Bloom was played by an actress named Isabel Ferrer, who was one of the ones who, as soon as she dropped the complaint, was gang Blake Lively, F you Justin Baldoni, even though there was evidence she told Justin Baldoni how great he was and he was amazing, turned on him at the drop of a hat. Now, how do we know that Taylor Swift was behind?
And I think there was like a whole cast call that unfollowed him on Instagram. This all happened months ago, well before the New York Times article was published as well.
Behind her casting, like I said, because Isabella said so on the red carpet at the premiere. So let's take a listen to Isabel Ferrer in her own words.
Did I hear that Taylor may have had some influence in getting
Yes, she did. Yeah, I know. I don't even know if I'm meant to be saying it, but I'm saying it. Yeah, she was a helpful part of the process of the audition, which I found out later after I got it, and that rocked my world. Yeah.
Which I found out later. I mean, look at how nervous she looks, too, being asked this question. Like, she doesn't know what... She literally says, I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking about this or not, because I'm sure this is something that they don't want leaking out, especially now that Taylor Swift, a little bit of a say in who's going to be in, now I guess, Taylor Swift's film. That's the way it appears to be to me.
Taylor may have had some influence in getting.
Yes, she did. Yeah, I know. I don't even know if I'm meant to be saying it, but I'm saying it. Yeah, she was a helpful part of the process of the audition, which I found out later after I got it, and that rocked my world. Yeah. I have no words.
Very sweet, you know, and I think, by the way, that is what star power does, is that people, and this is what I've put Brandon Sklenar in the same category, they're so starstruck and amazed by Taylor Swift that they want to pursue that relationship no matter what. And so for them, they're looking at Blake Lively and her proximity to power, right? Proximity to power.
I 100% agree with Candace's take here, honestly. I mean, nobody's really looking at Blake Lively unless you've been a Blake Lively fan from Gossip Girl, right? And looking like, oh my God, you could really elevate my career. No, you're looking at all the people that she's associated with. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. He now, I mean, not so much, but it seems like he was Marvel's Starboy, you know, right? For a very, very long time. Deep connections there. And then Taylor Swift, your best friend. Her best friend, your co-star's best friend, is the world's biggest star in Hollywood, period. Like, in any industry, in the film industry, in the music industry, she is the biggest star in Hollywood to date, worth billions and billions of dollars. Of course, you're going to be starstruck and be like, oh my gosh, Taylor Swift wants me in the movie. Like, that's amazing. And you're going to do whatever you can to maintain those connections, because all you see, you know, so sweet and impressionable, you know, just like she was just saying, Candace here, is you look at her and she's this young girl who's just getting started, right? Like, who heard of Isabella Ferrer before all of this, right? I mean, I haven't. Maybe she's been in a couple of, you know, big films before, but not enough where she's got real star power and somebody who could give her an edge, like Taylor Swift, like Blake Lively, and all of her amazing friends and connections, right? I mean, it's kind of sick, and it's kind of like manipulation and brooming, in my opinion. But anyways, I digress. So I want to skip ahead.
On April 19th, she goes to dinner with Blake and Ryan. The next day, on April 20th, she does a girls' march, and she's with Blake, and she's with the three Haim sisters, and she's with Gigi Hadid. So we can show you that photo of all of them together. Oh yeah, look, like, we're back, we're hot. Like, she wants Joe Alwyn to see this. And then, of course, all of them mass unfollowed Joe Alwyn. I mean, all of them within 24 hours, including her brother and Ryan Reynolds, all mass unfollowed, which grabbed them even more.
To be honest, I completely forgot she dated Joe Alwyn. Like, but that's what happens with people who date Taylor Swift. Like, they fall off the face of the earth, unless I think she dated Harry Styles at one point too. But I mean, dang, like, that's what happens. Even, oh my God, what's his face? Calvin Harris. I mean, they were a huge hot item back in the day. They did that song together. And then as soon as they break up, he essentially falls off the face of the earth. That is what happens.
More headlines. Oh my gosh, look, the sisters' night out, and they're all unfollowing Joe Alwyn. What does this all mean? Okay. Tons of headlines, tons of photos, just like Taylor Swift wanted. But here's the problem. You can't put the genie back into the lamp, okay?
I would have said the bottle, but that's only because I'm a Christina Aguilera fan. So anyways.
Can't do it. You can't say, I wanted publicity then, but now I want privacy now. I want privacy now because people are starting to look on the internet, and Candace is a psycho who's building timelines. You don't get to do that, which is why an email that I received last night caught my attention, okay? A woman emailed me and she said, Candace, I know this is really weird, but I so vividly remember all of these articles and images and videos of Taylor Swift hanging out with this New York Times reporter around this time. And she's like, and I can't find it anywhere. It's so weird. It's like her team has purged it from the internet. Like, are people powerful enough to get videos and photos removed on the internet? She's like, I'm a huge Swiftie. You know, I was in these forums. I remember seeing this, and I just can't remember who that reporter was. So I'm sitting.
So if you don't know who the reporter is, it will be hard for you to find out exactly what the connection is. But this was posted by the Daily Mail. back in November 20th, and this is what Candace goes over in her video later on, is her unlikely friendship with Ronan Farrow. Ronan Farrow being the son of Rosemary's Baby star Mia Farrow, who, I mean, she was also amazing in Kill Bill, and disgraced filmmaker Woody Allen, right? Which is completely ironic because who was in a Woody Allen film just a few short years ago? Blake Lively. So you can see the hypocrisy and the irony there, but I digress. So an eyewitness told Page Six that the billionaire singer, who's 34 at the time, is very close with the Nepo baby, 36, and that she greeted him warmly when he arrived at the club. So this is Ronan Farrow, and this is Taylor Swift. Taylor and Ronan seem to be very close friends. They got excited, hugged, kissed, and grabbed his hand and went to the private room with the others. They dished. According to the outlet, Taylor, Ronan's partner, Hamer Morgenstern, and their group hung out past midnight in their private room. Ooh, sounds cozy. Swift is also said to have met up with Ronan at Chez Margot, I guess that's a different club, earlier this month while reuniting with pal Zoe Kravitz. So Ronan, who is Ronan in his own right, aside from being a Nepo baby, he's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist and contributing writer at The New Yorker. He is a staunch liberal who has used his platform to call out ABUSESs in Hollywood, which again is completely ironic considering who your father is. From convicted artist Harvey Weinstein to his own father, who was accused of misconduct by his adopted daughter, Dylan Farrow, back in 1992, which it's so weird because it seems like Hollywood has just completely forgotten, forgiven, and moved on. Clearly, Blake Lively has, because she participated in a film that he directed a couple of years ago. 2016, Ronan famously penned a powerful piece for The Hollywood Reporter calling out Allen's alleged strange behavior towards Dylan as a 7-year-old child and insisted this is his sister's allegations were credible. He also accused the press of silencing victims while protecting powerful men, a phenomenon that is explored and exposed in his own journalistic work, so aka the Me Too movement. His investigative reporting in 2017 helped reveal a horrifying 20-year history of misconduct allegations made against Hollywood heavyweights like Harvey Weinstein. For this groundbreaking reporting, Ronan won the Pulitzer Prize for public service. So pretty interesting. Pretty interesting there. So going back to this,
I'm like, okay, very interesting. I will find this. I will find whoever it was, what New York Times reporter was Taylor Swift hanging out with, okay? And we were able to find it, which is very interesting, is I'm going to show you. You're going to see how many paparazzi are around, how many photographers are around taking pictures, videographers taking pictures of her with this particular journalist, okay? But it was indeed difficult to find this. We ended up finding it on a Russian search engine. Okay, this is completely crazy. Like, what do you mean? Where are these photos? Anyways, I am going to show you that footage, and I'm going to see whether or not you recognize the young man that is saying goodnight to Taylor Swift.
And again, the only reason why I was able to find it is because of her mentioning and others mentioning after watching this and that the clip she's about to play as Ronan Farrow. Like, I had to literally Google Taylor Swift and Ronan Farrow, New York Times reporter or New Yorker reporter, for that article I just showed you from the Daily Mail to pop up. Now, I don't know if it was always there before today, before this episode obviously dropped. I'm not going to give Candace Owen the complete ego-tripped credit here in terms of whether or not they decided to repost it or not. But that is how I found that specific article.
On November 8th, 2024. Now we're fast forwarding into the timeline. He's saying a sweet goodnight to Taylor Swift just a month before the now infamous Blake Lively filing.
So her meeting Ronan Farrow on November 8th is significant. Why? Because just days before, we found out this. So this was posted by Melanie King at Real Melanie King on Twitter. Give her a follow. She's been great in covering all of this. Where we find out a new date was found to be embedded in the New York Times article of 10/31/2024. So that's what, 9 days before Taylor Swift and Ronan Farrow were hanging out together. So that means that the earliest date that they've allegedly colluded with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds to do the hit piece on Justin Baldoni was 2 months before Lively filed the civil rights complaint and the article went live.
So I got a message on my X account, which I'm on there, Real Melanie King, and a woman showed me that you can see the data within this embedded image. So as you can see, it's highlighted, right? So what I did was I inspected this whole thing. I opened it up on Google, and as you can see, there's like the metadata. But then when you get into the actual properties of this little text message image, you can see it's not an image, but it was actually done by some type of generator. The date for this generator is October 31st, 2024. Okay? Almost 2 months before Blake Lively filed her complaint and the New York Times article came out. So we're seeing something that is almost 2 months before was created in this generator. And this date is all over the place when it comes to this. October 31st, Halloween of last year.
Now let's jump back to this clip. So as you can see, those screenshots in that clip that I just played for you were from the New York Times article, the text conversations between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, a lot of them that were taken grossly out of context. So now this is the clip of Ronan Farrow essentially saying goodnight to his bestie, Taylor Swift.
Taylor, sleep tight.
And don't let the bed bugs bite. So there's definitely a connection there.
She could not have had the star power to get the New York Times to put their entire professional reputation on the line to smear someone like Justin Baldoni. They are just not in that camp of celebrities. They are not that high up of the celebrity food chain, okay? Blake Lively can get an article dropped in TMZ. Blake Lively can get an article dropped in The Guardian. Blake Lively cannot get Pulitzer Prize winning New York Times journalist to smear someone like Justin Baldoni. That was why I was drawn to Taylor Swift as a character. Okay, he's also publicly tweeted, I should say, regarding his friendship with her, and at the root of their friendship seems to be the Me Too movement, as evidenced by his tweet. Here it is. Somebody asked him, "Are you a Swiftie? Please, it's for research purposes." And he wrote back, and this is in 2020, big time. "I am framing the letter that she wrote me about Catch and Kill." So she wrote.
So Catch and Kill is a book that he wrote post Me Too, and I guess post Pulitzer Prize for his article that he wrote or his coverage that he did during that period. So you can see there is a legitimate friendship, some kind of connection. I don't know how deep their connection is, deep their friendship is. I'm sure Taylor is friends with a lot of people. I mean, she's a very smart, savvy businesswoman, and I will always credit her with that. Doesn't mean she's a great person or she does all the most moral, makes all the most moral choices or ethical choices when it comes to business dealings, but she definitely knows how to play the Hollywood game. And I do think it's interesting because, again, Blake does have that connection to Woody Allen, right? But you would think that that would be kind of like a weird turnoff for Ronan, considering his coverage of what his sister alleged his father to have done, which, obviously most people believe to be true, myself included. So you would think, well, okay, well, why would he do her a solid? So it would make sense that, well, hey, Taylor's friends with Ronan, so there's that connection. Is he going to want to rock the boat with Taylor? Probably not.
Wrote him a letter about his book, about the Me Too movement, and it looks like this friendship was probably spawned since then in 2020, okay? But again, Ronan Farrow, what does he have to do with Blake Lively? What does he have to do with Justin Baldoni? Okay, well, he is he is arguably the most powerful journalist at the New York Times. You could say this. He's a Nepo baby. He's got deep connections to Hollywood. But the question here that you should be asking yourselves is, if Ronan Farrow was the father of the Me Too movement, who was the mother? Because he wasn't the only one credited with the launch of the movement. He wasn't the only journalist, Nepo baby, who won a Pulitzer Prize for launching it. Take a look at who did. Here they are. The reporters who exposed Harvey Weinstein. In their new book, She Said, the Pulitzer Prize winning reporters Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey take readers inside the investigation that launched a movement. Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey.
So who is Megan Twohey? Well, none other than one of the authors of the New York Times article. And again, usually I don't like to entertain, these kinds of theories too much, but I definitely do see some of these dots starting to get a little bit more connected, and why somebody like Blake Lively would be so, I guess, balls to the walls and really dragging this out in the way that she has. I mean, I was talking about this too with my wife, is saying, I don't think if Blake Lively had the kind of connections or leverage in Hollywood that she does, this would not be unfolding or unraveling in the way that it has. She wouldn't have threatened, allegedly, to go to the New York Times and to create these false allegations against Justin Baldoni, right? So I do think it's really interesting how all of these things are starting to slowly line up.
Were the mothers of the Me Too movement, okay? And that woman on the right, Megan Twohey, is indeed the woman who wrote the takedown piece regarding Justin Baldoni, okay? And I think Taylor Swift, and again, we're speculating here, but she came out of a long relationship in which she wasn't hanging out with her friends every single day, and she needed something to do. And I think she wanted to feel powerful, potentially. I'll help you out. I'll do whatever. There is no reason. There's no way, by the way, you're going to tell me that this girl was potentially hiring people, firing people, reviewing the script, getting composers kicked out, showing up and looking with Bradley Cooper at cuts of the film. And you're going to tell me that she had nothing to do with this situation. I call BS.
And I do too, because I mean, honestly, it's like, when you add up all these lists of coincidences, it's a lot like the stuff that we talk about in the Karen Reed case. It just seems a little too hard to believe. And with that being said, this was actually just tweeted out before I started filming, by Melanie King as well too. Again, give her a follow on Twitter, give her a subscribe on YouTube. There is a documentary, I guess, or special on Hulu that was released tonight, right? As all of this stuff is starting to come out, right? About Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. Disney owns Hulu. Who works for Disney? Ryan Reynolds, because Marvel is owned by Disney. So again, when all of these things start stacking up, it feels a little bit fishy, in my opinion. So I'm definitely really curious to check out that special. If you guys are interested in this, I will definitely continue to cover it here. It's definitely fascinating for me. It's a nice little break away from some of the more serious cases that we cover here. We're still, we have a lot of Karen Reed stuff that's coming down the pike. We have a new video coming out about that tomorrow. We have a hearing. We're in court tomorrow for that. So I'll be going over that. But as more news of this drops, I will continue to cover it if you guys are interested. So let me know in the comment section if you were as fascinated by this case as I am. Other case suggestions, other stuff that you want me to look into, please email me. So that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next video update from me, and make sure you hit that like button. And I will see you all in the next one.